Who the hell can wait till morning? Talk now at latenightsportsradio.com.
Do 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 do.
That's right. The best show on the radio. You can bet on it. It's The Box Seats with Alex B. Smith from SportsMemo.com, and I am your guest host tonight, sitting in for Bob Sullivan from NoCoastBias.com. My name is Keith Grieve. I'm from 87sportsfans.com, and if you're a regular to the show, this is not my usual seat. I am just basking in the glow of Alex here. How are you, sir, today?
I'm doing pretty well. We're finally into December. The year's almost over. We got everything you can choose from as far as watching sports, betting sports. We got hockey, we got college basketball, pro football, college football. It's a whirlwind right now, but it's a fun time of the year.
What was a couple games last week that caught you off guard?
There was a lot of interesting. Obviously, that Notre Dame Stanford finish in the college football ranks was just a crazy ball game, and you knew it had to be something magical with that game because of the implications of it. You know, Notre Dame's pretty much knocked out of the playoff race with that last second loss and that field goal. That was probably the biggest thing. The ineptitude of officials in the NFL continues. We're just seeing more and more instances of just bad calls affecting games, affecting point spreads, and it's made the NFL, as far as I'm concerned, pretty much unbettable. I don't know how many NFL games I'll be betting on from now until the Super Bowl. It might only be a handful because these refs are just absolutely atrocious right now.
I think one of the things that the NFL really seriously has to do in the offseason is come to a much simpler definition of what a catch is. I mean, to me, if you have the ball in control when your feet touch the ground, then you have possession. That's a catch.
Right.
Not this demonstrating a football move or following or completing it to the ground. That's a bunch of crap. And it's really freaking ambiguous.
Mm-hmm. And I agree. And then when you start talking about, the thing is now, how do we determine the ground causing a fumble?
Oh, yeah.
So I mean, and there's got to be. I wouldn't know how to start going about, determining the various depths and levels of a catch. But there has to be one, like you said, there needs to be at least one shell of a rule that the league and the officials can work around to determine what is an actual catch. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, it makes the games, like you said, not only unbettable but unwatchable.
Yeah.
Because here you are, like thinking that you have a handle on the rules as a fan, and then especially if your team or the team that you're betting on falls victim at the hands of just an interpretation that's so out of whack and makes no sense. Just look at the Sunday night game alone, the Broncos and the Patriots. Yep. There was some phantom pass interference calls that went the other way. The Thanksgiving night game, the Bears and the Packers.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Tracy Porter had an interception negated because they called pass interference on a ticky-tack little bump.
Yeah, no, it's been, you look at this is a lot of games. Like I said, just, we could probably go through every game and find one major blunder of a call, and it's ridiculous. And another thing that's going to have to be done is you're going to have to get full-time officials. You might not be able to get every single official, but the main referees need to be full-time guys that work clinics and get things, and sort these things out and be more mindful and knowledgeable of the rules. It's just that simple.
All right, so shifting back to college football, and now it's Week 14, the playoff picture. The top four, the four teams that the committee has anointed as being that if the season started or ended tonight, they would be the four teams in the playoffs. Undefeated Clemson first, Alabama, Oklahoma, and then undefeated Iowa at the 4th spot. Do you have any issues with those four teams?
No, that's the way I had it. I personally, in fact, I put this on Twitter earlier today. I have Clemson number 1 and Iowa number 2, just for the simple fact that those teams have not lost a game yet. And then Alabama and Oklahoma. And now I have a bit of an issue with the 5 and 6 spots. I had Michigan State 5th, but I had North Carolina as my 6th spot for the sole reason of that. I feel that basically the 5th and 6th spots right now are, playing games for the playoff. I mean, if Michigan State beats Iowa, they should definitely be in one of the top 4 spots. And if North Carolina can beat Clemson, give Clemson their first loss and win the ACC title, that'd be the 12th straight win. I don't see how you keep North Carolina out, and have Clemson still be in.
It's hard to figure why North Carolina is so far down with the committee, because you can't. You look at their strength of schedule rating; they're rated 62nd, but Iowa's 63rd.
Right.
And there's only one loss separating the two teams, so it's one of those things that we talk about. You mentioned the referee and taking away from the NFL game, but the kind of arbitrariness in the college football rankings really takes away from college football.
Yeah, I agree, because you're going to have these situations now until this thing gets expanded to 8 games, and even then, once it gets expanded to 8, you're still going to have instances of teams that are getting left out when they shouldn't.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how bad.
Yeah, this is a year where we need 8 teams. We need Ohio State needs to be in a playoff. North Carolina needs to be in a playoff. Stanford, even with their 2 losses, but they have a legitimate claim to, possibly take part in the playoff. So, and even Notre Dame. I mean, you look, Notre Dame's worst loss is against Stanford. So, so that you have these, there's more than 4 good teams that are deserving to play for a national championship. And I'm thinking at some point, probably won't be right away next year, but I'm thinking year after next, we're going to finally see this thing get expanded to 8 teams rather.
The thing that you were talking about North Carolina, they lost to South Carolina, who is not a world beater by any stretch of the imagination this year.
Sure.
But there's got to be something taken into account when you lose the first game of the season and then win all the rest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And South Carolina, sure, they're not the power that they once were. This is one of their worst seasons, but South Carolina hung along pretty well with Clemson.
Right.
They covered the number last week, and obviously the committee's not going to look into that. Although I think that's a very good barometer that should be taken into consideration. Clemson did not absolutely obliterate South Carolina last week. North Carolina had 2 interceptions in that game. I remember that game vividly. I had to play on that at the beginning of the year. That's what cost them the loss to South Carolina. Otherwise, this team, the 2 mistakes from being not even one whole loss, they're 2 mistakes away from being undefeated. So, in the committee, has to make up a bunch of different things, because they can't come out and say, we're not just picking the best 4 teams on record. We have to pick certain teams because we're either getting a kickback from the conference or the league or the network is pressuring us or whatever. We all know it. No one's saying it's the giant elephant in the room, but they are worried about a North Carolina Iowa semifinal, because they know that's going to be a ratings buzzkill compared to Alabama, Oklahoma, or an Ohio State Clemson, or so they're trying to finagle the teams they want in and the network wants in. And North Carolina is not one of them, and Iowa's not one of them. But they can't deny Iowa because of the undefeated record. Obviously, we saw that last year's Florida State team go in, and they were terrible despite their undefeated record. Then you have to let Iowa in this year.
Do you really think it would be a buzzkill, though? I mean, I know that there's huge programs, and I know that there's less than huge programs. There's the hierarchy in every sport.
Yeah.
But there's something to the David and Goliath matchup that I think would lend to the television ratings.
Yeah, and I would think that too, but the numbers have proven that there are teams that the majority of the public wants to see over others. We're not talking about just fan bases. When you start talking, outside of SEC country, there's plenty of people who just want to see Alabama. Maybe they want to to see them lose, or they are fans or whatever. But it is, if you look at, like I said, you look at this top 10 list. Obviously, the Notre Dames, the Stanfords, the Ohio States of the world will draw more the higher TV ratings than the Iowas and the North Carolinas and even Clemson. I mean, Clemson is the number one. I would imagine if Clemson were to lose and they were bounced out of the playoff next week, I don't think too many people would be upset outside of the South.
Right. I guess you got a point there. If Baylor wins that game last week against TCU, do you think they're ahead of Michigan State and Ohio State?
Possibly. They're more than likely, but now you throw into the wind of, well, because the Big 12 doesn't have that conference title game, would the Baylor loss, how would that affect Oklahoma? But yeah, they would be a lot higher. Obviously, they wouldn't. Yeah, they're 12th now. They would be within that range. But they would have to be on the outside, looking in, just simply because Oklahoma is lucky to be in it, as far as I'm concerned. You could make a hard pressed case for Michigan State and Ohio State to jump over Oklahoma if they had a really bad outing.
Right.
But so that's to say there's a lot of things that need to be tightened up with the system. And number one, I think actually should be the Big 12 going on and adding 2 more teams and getting their conference title. But number 2 is at some point, like I said, they got to expand this. You just have to. There's not going to just be 4 clear-cut teams and everybody else is on the fence. There's more that there's always going to be at least more than 4 teams that are worthy of playing for a national title.
All right, and there's a lot of interesting matchups this week and some conference championship games that we'll get to later in the program. Looking ahead to next week, before we get there though, does being a conference championship game, does that change your willingness to bet just because there's a lot of emotion involved in those games?
No. Well, I mean, I take it into consideration. There's certain teams that are used to the pressure, like let's say Michigan State, Iowa. This is one of the biggest games they've ever played. This is bigger than most of the bowl games they've been to already. So how will they react to this pressure where Michigan State has already played in big pressure games? The game against Ohio State was a high profile game. So, those are things I take into consideration. Clemson and North Carolina. Clemson's been in the ACC title. This would be their third trip since the ACC added a title game. This is North Carolina's first. But the game's being played in Charlotte, where North Carolina started the season at the loss against South Carolina. So it doesn't draw me on or off, but it is something that I have to work into consideration and look at how the teams are using this situation, how they're going to be motivated, and not only that, but looking at what happens and then looking ahead. Some of these teams, they suffer some really bad losses, and they're out of the playoff. They're not going to give a crap about whatever mid-range bowl game they have to play. They might not might not be too fired up, and they might be a team you want to bet against down the road.
All right, so let's switch gears over to the NFL. What games? What are your main takeaways from last week in the NFL?
Well, we talked about the Thanksgiving games. The Bears getting a big win on the road.
Huge.
It's a huge win. Yeah, ruining Brett Favre's retirement night, getting the win, putting themselves right back into the middle of the talks for the wild card. I mean, they're right in the middle of things because how bad that's how bad the NFC is. But 5-6, and then you look, it's really upsetting because the week prior they blew a game they should have won, in my opinion, against Denver.
Agreed.
And then you look a few weeks back where they blew a chance and had the lead against Minnesota and blew that. So you can make a case and say that they should be a 7-4 team and be right up there in the wild card spot. Between them and Green Bay. And having maybe 3 teams out of the North getting into the postseason. So we'll see how they do this week. They got a game that they should be able to handle with San Francisco. Another big game, in my opinion, was you look at the Eagles and Lions. This Eagles team,
oh yeah,
they had a outside chance to possibly, the NFC East is so bad. It's just whoever makes the strongest run to the finish line will get through. And the Eagles, I thought, had a really good shot to play against a Lions team that doesn't always do well on Thanksgiving, but the Lions came out guns blazing, and Matthew Stafford just was lights out, and then 45-14 winning at 5 touchdown passes. So that was a big shock for me. I thought the Eagles, I don't. It's just weird because this Eagles team just seemed so focused and so primed, and they just don't have it going. And of course, then you look at the Panthers, last team to remain unbeaten, taking care of business against the Cowboys. The defense once again just really carrying this team through, but the offense has shown more strides too, and that's what's completely surprising about this Panther team, because early in the year it just seemed like, well, where are they going to get their offense from? No Kelvin Benjamin. There were some injury issues with Olsen early too. So, now with 5 weeks left, you're kind of wondering, well, when are the Panthers going to lose? They got a pretty easy schedule ahead of them. Maybe they run into the playoffs at 16-0. We'll have to see.
It's you bring up a good point about the Panthers in that we were all wondering where was their offense going to come from with the big injury to Kelvin Benjamin beforehand, and they really didn't have any wide receiver threats or talents, except for the rookie Devin Funchess, who he's shown flashes, but nothing that would say a breakout rookie performance like Kelvin Benjamin had last year. But it's examples like this that make me kind of shake my head and wonder, why aren't people being more critical of Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay? Because he has not played well. He does not have the numbers. He doesn't throw the interceptions just because he's pretty smart with the football. But for all the years, and maybe I'm biased because I'm a Bears fan, and that makes me biased for two reasons. One, I hate the Packers, and two, listening to everybody criticize Jay Cutler for not making everybody around him better. But here we have Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, and they're missing Jordy Nelson. Devontae Adams has not lived up to the billing. Randall Cobb has been nicked up, but even when healthy, has not played all that well. And no one says anything about Aaron Rodgers. But if this was Cam Newton or if this was Jay Cutler, I think all we'd be hearing was about how the quarterback needs to step up and make his teammates better. And for some reason, Aaron Rodgers gets a pass.
And here's the thing with that too. I mean, the media gets really wrapped up in guys who've already won. Mm-hmm. When you've proven that you can win in the National Football League, you get a lot more leeway. So like you said, if case in point, Peyton Manning, everybody came up with every excuse in the book to try and say that Peyton Manning, well, he's getting older, he doesn't have the weapons around him. There was all these things, and no one just wanted to come out and say, you know what, Peyton Manning just doesn't have it anymore. Even Drew Brees. I mean, no one just wanted to come out and say, he ended up, last year he didn't have great offensive line. Now he's got a great offensive line, but now he's lost Jimmy Graham. We make excuses for the guys who've already won. Eli Manning, people make excuses for him every week, but he's just a very inconsistent quarterback who's gotten lucky, in a couple of years and ended up with a couple of Super Bowl rings. But for the guys like Cutler and Cam Newton,
Andy Dalton,
like I said, when they haven't proven their worth in the long run, then they're more susceptible to the criticism. It's not, and the media doesn't make it a fair fight. We're all these guys that we mentioned are very talented quarterbacks in their own right. But like you said, the guys who are proven winners get a little more leeway as far as media, media criticism.
Who I think has the is really in a good position going forward past this year, and that's going to be the Tennessee Titans. Yeah. Because they have a defense that plays tough. That's a talented defense. Marcus Mariota has been better than we could have hoped for his rookie year. Mm-hmm. And now they're going to probably sit and get a top 3 pick if things keep shaking out this way. Just staring down the records right now really quick.
Yeah, 2-9. They. I can't imagine them getting more than 4 wins this year.
Yeah, it's them and the Broncos. A race to the bottom, or I'm sorry, the Browns. I mean,
Browns. Yeah.
So they could be sitting with a top 2 pick this year in the NFL draft, and they're going to be looking for a new head coach. I got to tell you, I really think Adam Gase is gone after this year for the Chicago Bears. It would just make sense to tutor a young quarterback like that.
Yeah, no, I agree. And like I said, Mariota is becoming a dynamic quarterback in front of our eyes, and gone are the days of having quarterbacks that just jump into the league and dominate right off the bat. I mean,
Right.
we did see that with Andrew Luck, but now we've seen how he's faltered, and of course he's dealt with a lot of injuries and so forth. But I think it's going to be a while before we see quarterbacks really just jump in right off the bat and make a lot of noise. I mean, even Jameis Winston started off slow. He's kind of worked things out well, and he's looking like he's going to be at least a formidable quarterback in this league, down the road. So you have to take those things into consideration. And the coaching situation, has been an issue with the Titans for a while. And I'm curious to see who all are the main candidates to land that Titan job.
All right. I came up with a game on the fly here while I'm looking at the
Okay.
standings. Okay. It's called Who's the Bigger Letdown? And I wish I had some game show music to play in the background, but I don't. So, okay. So, who was the bigger letdown so far this season? The Eagles or the Lions?
Oh, definitely the Eagles, without a question. I knew the Lions were going to struggle a little bit. They lost so many pieces on defense alone. And it seemed as if teams got better around, in that NFC North. But the Eagles, after the last two strong showings, Chip Kelly finally moving pieces around, getting the guys that he, claims he wants to have in his system. So you automatically would think, okay, well, this team would at least, be good enough to get 10 wins. And, like I said, the East always beats each other up. So, a few wins here or there, and they can climb to the top and sneak out of it. But I didn't expect them to just be, especially in a year where Dallas struggled without Tony Romo for such a long time. The Redskins, not playing RG3, and they had, Kirk Cousins in there. And like I said, even the Giants with a ton of injuries on offense. So it was ripe for the picking as far as Philadelphia, just based on paper with things that have happened, but they just haven't been able to produce. The DeMarco Murray has to be the biggest letdown as far as any player that moved during the season. He just does not fit in the Chip Kelly offensive scheme, and you have to imagine he's got to be going somewhere else after the end of the season. I don't know how, or a trade or whatever, but it's just not going to work out for him in Philadelphia as long as Chip Kelly is the head coach.
He chased that cash. He gave the middle finger to his teammates by going to a division rival. And the karma train is running over DeMarco Murray right now.
Yeah, it's running back and forth over him now at this point. It's getting ugly for him, yeah.
All right. Bigger letdown, the Indianapolis Colts or the Atlanta Falcons?
Oh, the Indianapolis Colts. And that's tough for me because I really thought this Falcons team, I hyped them up all year on this show. And anybody who talked to me, I thought this Falcons team was going to be something fairly special.
I was with you,
but I'm gonna say Indianapolis is a bigger letdown for two reasons. One, that's an absolute cupcake of a division. It was almost gift wrap from day one when you start talking about, like I said, we knew Tennessee was going to have some growing pains. Jacksonville is going to be Jacksonville. Thought Houston might compete a little bit more, but they were kind of a letdown in their own right. And then even going back with Atlanta, sure, they are a bit of a letdown how they've lost games after the hot start, but no one expected Carolina to be 11-0. So, so that's the reason why I would say Indianapolis is more of a letdown than Atlanta.
All right, and one more. Bigger letdown, the St. Louis Rams or the Baltimore Ravens?
That's kind of tough. I would say the St. Louis Rams. The Ravens, their main cog of operation is defense. They had a lot of injuries on the defensive side of the ball in training camp. And now we've seen them come down with a plethora of injuries on the offensive side during the regular season. That's just hard for any team to come across and go through. So, they're going to have a rough year. They'll be back in the mix, like they have been in previous years next season, should everybody return healthy and they replace a few older pieces. Obviously, Steve Smith is going to be gone. A couple other guys on defense who I can't imagine coming back. But St. Louis, when you look at how great that defense is supposed to be, we knew San Fran was going to fall off the map. Obviously Arizona, most people, at least I did. I thought Arizona would be at the top where they are right now. Seattle, could have gone one way or the other. I didn't expect such a slow start from them, but I thought St. Louis would be thicker in the mix, and I would have guessed that they would be above 500 right now. I wouldn't have guessed that they would be a 4-7 team heading into the month of December.
You think Jeff Fisher gets fired?
No, I think he gets one more year.
Still got to find a quarterback.
Yeah, they need to draft a quarterback, and I think, and that's one thing I think is going to be really. I think we're going to see a lot of quarterbacks getting drafted, and getting real looks when they get signed in August during the preseason. So that's something to keep note of as the spring rolls around and into next season, especially next preseason. I like to bet preseason games a lot. I think we're going to see a lot of quarterback scheming for many teams. I think a lot of quarterbacks are going to be moving around in the NFL during the offseason.
And just remember, Jeff, if you don't get who you want, I'm sure you can get RG3 for a song. All right, let's take a quick break. 4 minutes, kids. That's all we're going to go away for. Take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk about best bets for the upcoming week. You're listening to The Box Seats on LateNightSportsRadio.com.
See, I want you till so far away. I know you can't walk away from the things you say, yeah, the price you pay for them. Can't walk away from the things you say, yeah, the price you pay for them. No. Can't walk away from the things you say,
the hell can wait till morning? Talk now at latenightsportsradio.com.
Yes, we all want it all, and that's why you bet on sports, isn't it, folks? Welcome back to the box seats on latenightsportsradio.com. Alex B. Smith and Keith Grieve sitting in for Bob Sullivan. Reminder that coming up later tonight at 11 p.m. Eastern Time, you can catch the Hold 1005 podcast, the best wrestling talk on the internet. Also, then Wednesday night is the Fantasy Greek starts and sits in 60 minutes. Get all of the lineup setting info you can handle. And then Thursday night, 10 o'clock Eastern Time, it's the Johnny Bobo Show. John Malores, Bob Sullivan, and a cast of characters talk sports with you as they happen right here at latenightsportsradio.com. All right, so looking forward, we got a big weekend in college football, conference championships. Everything from the Big Ten championship to the American Athletic Conference championship. Big Houston Temple matchup there. That's what you're looking at, right, Alex?
yeah. It's not as exciting as we thought it would be maybe about a few weeks ago, but yeah.
All right, and folks, if you are interested in finding out everything in Alex's brain about which games to gamble and how big to go on, head over to sportsmemo.com. That's sportsmemo.com. All right, so Alex, what's your best bets that you're looking for this weekend? One of them, anyway.
One game that I got circled, and I'm not playing it right now. I haven't played it yet. I'm waiting for the number to move up because I just think the public's going to jump all over it, and it's in the North Carolina Clemson game. Everybody obviously likes Clemson, the number one team in the country. They have played well. They're a good ball club. I just really think North Carolina's on a hotter roll. I think they have a more dynamic offense. We saw Clemson's defense struggle last week to contain a pretty poor South Carolina club that's not going to be going to a bowl game or anything. They were just kind of playing for pride last week and made that game closer than a lot of people thought. They covered that number last week. They were 17.5-point underdogs. But North Carolina, I think we'll be able to catch maybe 6.5, maybe even 7 points come kickoff. And I just really think they have the talent. They're going to be playing basically a de facto home game in Carolina and in Charlotte. And I just think they, like I said, a better offense. I think they're going to be a little more fired up. I think they'll be able to catch Clemson in a spot where Clemson has just kind of cakewalked through the last 3-4 weeks and hasn't really seen an offense as dynamic as the Tar Heels. And this Tar Heel defense has gotten a lot better than what we saw from, even the beginning of the year. So I think the Tar Heels pull the upset and create some havoc in that college football playoff ranking at the end.
God, if somehow, some way, North Carolina pulls this off, what does that do to Clemson? I mean, like, how far do you think that knocks them down?
Honestly, there could be some roundabout way where they would still stay in the top four. I'm guessing the first domino that would have to fall for that to happen would be Alabama would have to lose.
Okay.
I don't think that's going to happen, but you never really know. And I think if Alabama loses, that's going to be the biggest shocker of not only just of where everything landed this week, but that's going to really shake up things because everybody firmly has Alabama in this top four for quite a while, even with the one loss. So for them to be out, now you got to really kind of flip a coin on Michigan State, Ohio State. Should Iowa win out? But then obviously if Iowa loses, is Iowa strong enough to still stay in the top four with Clemson losing and Alabama losing? My guess is no. So if we were to see, I think we could see a North Carolina, Oklahoma, Michigan State, Ohio State bracket if all the dominoes fall and we see all these teams, both unbeaten and Alabama lose. That would be interesting to see, but that's the only way I could see where some kind of chaotic chain of reaction would happen like that.
Yeah, USC Stanford matchup's not totally irrelevant either.
No, it's not. But everybody's, I know talking about Stanford's body of work, I just don't see where you have a 2-loss team hop over any of these 1-loss teams.
Okay.
I just really don't see it, and I would support. I'd even with Stanford beating Notre Dame, I just have a bit of an issue if Stanford were to leap over all these teams. Like I said, granted, unless we had that chaotic scenario that I did paint right there, Stanford would still stay within range, but I don't think they'd be able to crack the top 4 at this point.
All right, so that's your college game. For all of the
Right.
For all of the rest of Alex's thoughts, like I said before, head over to sportsmemo.com. What about in the NFL?
Looking at the NFL, one game I kind of did like was the game coming up on Thursday with Green Bay heading to Detroit. I can't imagine this tailspin of the Packers continuing on much longer. Detroit coming off of a big emotional win last Thursday, like I said, blowing out Philadelphia. It could be a bit of a letdown spot. Obviously, they're going to be hyped up to play another big night game against the division rival. But for Green Bay, I think this is more of a bigger bounce back. And it's a nice price. They're only laying 3 points. This is a big game for them now. Every game is critical for Green Bay right now if they want to at least try to hold on to a wild card spot. If not, we'll try to win that NFC North. So I like the Packers laying the 3 points. I think they pretty much take care of Detroit and win this game in double digits.
For the betting newbies, now normally the home team gets 3 points automatically right off the bat. So isn't it really like a 6-point favorite for the Packers?
Pretty much. I mean, yeah. When you think about it, you have to take a couple other factors in consideration. Both these teams did play on Thursday, so they're getting a full week of rest. And yeah, how your power rankings work. I don't give that much credit to every home field advantage. Detroit's home field is not as strong as say Green Bay is. Obviously, if this were flip flopped, I would have Green Bay as a 7-point favorite.
Right.
So yeah, the standard barometer is that there's 3 points already added to whatever line you see for home field advantage. But I think in this game they just kind of went with. You'll see some lines just try to attract money both ways, and they'll kind of waive the home field factor out. So I think seeing this low of a price because they're trying to draw in. They know they're going to get Green Bay money at the window from the betting public before kickoff. So they're trying to draw as many backers on Detroit. But I don't see it happening. I think this is a game that I'm probably got to jump on this tomorrow, and I would advise people to do the same because I can't imagine this 3 sticking around long. By kickoff, this could be a 5-point close at 5 points for Green Bay.
Another interesting line that I'm seeing here is Denver only by 4 over San Diego.
Yeah,
that seems way low. San Diego's a tire fire this year.
They are a tire fire, but here's the thing: you look at last week, a spot that I'm kicking myself for passing up was when they were getting points against Jacksonville. I thought that was absolutely asinine, and it was way too late when I realized it. In fact, I passed the entire NFL card last week, but that was a game that I had circled. I was ready to fire on and just passed it up, which. In hindsight, it's always 20/20. But sometimes if you don't have the feel for it in any sport or any given day, you're better off holding off on your money than firing away on something that you aren't completely comfortable with.
Right.
But with that being said, Denver's not that big of a favorite here. I think mostly because once again, the emotional letdown of it could be a bit of a letdown beating New England at home, ruining their perfect season. How motivated do they come out in this game against lowly San Diego? Granted, it is a division game. They still need to win games to wrap up their division at some point. But, San Diego always seems to play Denver tough. We've seen Denver or the Chargers pull the upset on the Broncos a couple years back in a Monday night game where Denver had a big lead and completely blew it. So, the history is being taken into consideration with this line too. It's a game I would stay away from. If I had to play it for a contest or something like that, I would look at laying the 4 with Denver.
How about the Buccaneers getting or favored by 2 over the Falcons? We've seen lights on in Atlanta, but not every week.
Right, and that's the thing. And Tampa Bay is playing loose; they've got nothing to lose. So it's hard to back Atlanta right now. Even getting a couple points, they just seem to be lost on all aspects of the game right now. The play calling's been terrible. We're seeing Matt Ryan, make some terrible passes, especially in the red zone. I think I read a stat where he's got 4 red zone interceptions this season. I can't back Atlanta right now, but I'm not comfortable laying any points with Tampa Bay either. Granted, like I said, they are playing very loose and just trying to build for the future. But that's a game that I definitely would just go and stay away from.
And Buffalo by 3 over Houston in Buffalo. I don't like Buffalo but that good.
Yeah, I'm not comfortable laying and looking at the 3. You got to lay some extra juice on that. So when you see, for those who aren't used to it, you see the 3 minus 120. Rather than making an 11 to 10 bet, you have to make a 12 to 10 bet, basically. So $12 for every 10 you win back. I'm not comfortable laying the 3 with Buffalo right now. I know that they need this ball game, and they have a legitimate chance to bust through and make it into this wild card race. Because a lot of tight teams in that 6-5, 5-6 range. But this is also a game that I would completely, because you look at Houston. Houston's right there. If the season ended today, they would be in the playoffs. So it's a big game for both clubs. I could see where Houston would pull this, or Buffalo rather would pull this one out, but it's a game not worth laying any money on, in my opinion.
So now, as a gambler, again for the betting newbies, myself included here, as if anybody listening to this couldn't tell already. When you see a line like the Seattle-Minnesota line is a pick'em line, so it's even.
Right.
Is that something as a gambler you stay away from just in general?
No. If my numbers suggest that pick'em is a value spot, if I think that Minnesota should be a 3 or 4 point favorite in this game, and I see pick'em, well, that's a great value. I would jump all over that.
Okay.
Looking at this spot though, Seattle's just been such a very weird team to read this year. And you don't know when they're going to just lay a complete egg. Minnesota's been fighting really hard. They've been a great team to bet on. And they're on a 9-1 run against the spread in their last 10. So I'd be more inclined to take the pick 'em with Minnesota. I think Minnesota wins this ball game. Their home crowd has been more impressive over the last several weeks. And like I said, Seattle's just kind of in limbo right now. Sure, they do have the final wild card spot. I don't know how long they hold on to that. Like I said, when you look at the teams that are surging up past them, so it's a tough spot. I could see where the Vikings win this game. If that would be the side I would look to take in that particular spot. But seeing a pick'em game, that doesn't scare me off. I'd rather be getting points. In a spot, but like I said, if there's value in a pick'em line, then I'll definitely look to play it.
Okay, and Seahawks losing Jimmy Graham for the season, we just don't know what that's going to do to that offense.
Right? Yeah, he wasn't the biggest cog for that offense, but he's still nonetheless a factor that is now taken away from him.
Yeah, he's still a talent you had to account for on the
right.
field, regardless of what he's actually done or, more to the point, not done.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So, Alex, anything else jumping out at you that you want to share?
Let me go back and look through with the college football. Looking at that SEC title game, Florida and Alabama. I just think that total is really low. It opened at 40.5. Seen some 39.5s, but mostly stable at 40. I know Florida hasn't scored much of anything lately. Only scored 2 points last week. Alabama's not exactly an offensive juggernaut, but I think this is such a big spot for these two teams. 40 points. I mean, you can accidentally get 40 points in a football game, especially when you talk about two really, really staunch defense, especially Alabama, how good their defense is. They get a pick six or a fumble to take them back for a touchdown. that's an extra 7 points that you might not just account for based on offense versus offense. So that's something that I have circled. I don't know if I'll play it, but I definitely kind of like. I think this game goes over 40 points. I think it'll be a tight contest. I could see where at least Alabama puts up, at least 28, 35 points. So if they really want to put the pedal to the metal, they could go and pick up this 40 points on their own if Florida decides not to show up.
All right. So where can before we head on out of here, where can everybody find you? I pumped the sportsmemo.com. Is there any place else that you're at?
People can follow me and talk to me on Twitter. You can ask me any questions about any of the football games, or like I said, I'm mostly doing hockey during the rest of the week. I haven't really touched much on basketball. I've only made 2 basketball wagers, and I've split them so far. So I'll get more into basketball as football winds down. I'm sure, but hockey and football have been the main focus so far this fall into this winter. So follow me on Twitter at AXSmithSports. You can also go to my own website, axsmithsports.com. And for all the different plays I've got on a daily basis, I have mostly weekly and monthly packages on my own site. But you can go to sportsmemo.com for all of my daily plays.
All right. And we are here every Tuesday night, normally at 10 Eastern time. Right here on Late Night Sports Radio.com. That's the box seats. You can catch us on demand at LateNightSportsRadio.com or through the Spreaker app. Or, hey, find us on iTunes, everybody. That's the best way. That way you're guaranteed not to miss a single episode. Because who would want that? There's a lot of money at stake here, folks. So
gotta listen in.
So for Alex B. Smith from SportsMemo.com and Bob Sullivan in absentia from NoCoastBias.com, I am Keith Grieve from 87 Sports Radio. Thank you very much for joining us. Send any questions and comments to me, Keith Grieve at 87sportsfans.com, and I'll head them over to Alex. And also, like Alex said, find him on Twitter. We'll be here next week. Good luck, and may the odds be forever in your favor.